you're looking at a minimum $1,000 repair. That doesn't get caught by the inspector, but that's a major selling feature these days. I highly suggest that you call a plumbing company. Most tradespeople do that. Most.
Thank you guys who joined us today for this interview. I appreciate your time because I know all of you are busy and every minute is valuable. And today I have a great person with me. This is Patrick Ashley. He's an instructor, pipe trade instructor in Said. And he's been doing plumbing for more than 20 years so far. And he will explain lots of insights, I think really valuable information, what can be, what should you check and what to pay attention for as soon as you step into your house. So Patrick, I'm so glad that you are here today with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a great day. I mean, it's a little bit foggy today, but still.
It's okay. It's not snowing.
It's not snowing, yeah, for sure. Spring is coming, so thank you. And would you mind telling us how did you get into this trade and when it happened? And
I've been in the trade right around 22 years. I got into it because I was working in warehouses and whatnot, and I've always liked to work with my hands and my brain at the same time. And I got into it because there was a company that was looking for someone to help install water heaters. Mm-hmm. And so, the money seemed good. I applied to that job. I was young, so I had the muscles and all that to do it. And there was a journeyman there who was my first journeyman, an older fellow. So he was on his way out at the end of his career, and I was coming in. He took a liking to me because I worked hard. I listened. We clicked. We hit it off, and he said, "Hey, would you want to get into plumbing?" And I said, "Well, I guess. Like, I never really thought about trades." Mm-hmm. And I started off, funny enough, soldering copper pipe, and I liked how the process was of soldering it and the end result. And my journeyman ended up telling me that if I took my plumbing trade, I would also get a gas fitter ticket out of it. It was a 2-ticketed trade, and I was sold. I said, okay. And he honestly told me that, if you put your mind to it and you do this, it can do very well for you in your life. So I put both feet in and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. This man taught me a lot. So his few rules were, you listen to me, you show up on time, and you don't argue with me. And he says, if you trust me and you listen to me, he essentially told me that he would give me all the knowledge in his brain. And at that point, he had been a journeyman almost 35 years. So I was going to get roughly 35 years worth of knowledge right out of the gate if I promised to follow the rules. So I did.
And you did, yeah.
I think one of the big things is some people maybe don't understand if they're not in the trades. Your goal is to get your ticket, right? That increases your pay, that increases your knowledge, all that. But there's kind of an unwritten rule. No matter what trade you're in, if you get your ticket, the unwritten rule, and this has been going on since the Roman times, the Egyptian times, what you are expected to pass on to your apprentice. Mm-hmm. And there's some journeymen out there that knowledge is power, and they keep it to them. And that's wrong. If you want to continue to have good tradespeople, that you need to share your knowledge, to pass on the knowledge so that when they get to that point, they pass on the knowledge to the next generation. And that's how it goes. That's how it's always gone.
Yep.
So I took that to heart, and it's done me very well in my career.
How much time did it take for you to get a license?
Yeah, so it took me 4 years. So essentially you do 4 years of schooling for trade school. You do 2 months per year. Mm-hmm. So as we had mentioned, I had you for your first year. Yeah. So I was one of your instructors. Yep. For the record, Alex is one of my better students. Thank you. You did. You put the hard work in. Thank you. but you're going to do 240 hours per year. So you're going to do 2 months of schooling, and then you're going to do 10 months of practical work in the field, which works out to 1,500 and change hours that you have to meet in order for the Alberta government to move you on to the next year. So you do your 240 at school, 2 months, you learn everything in that year. So first year, you learn the first year, second, all the way to fourth. And then you write a government test, the test qualification for the government. Once you pass that test and you have your 1,500 hours, you move to the next year. So I like to tell people, because some people are, oh, this is easy, I can do this. So I say, okay. So if you hopped on an airplane and you had a pilot with 100 hours of experience, and you had a pilot with essentially 7,000 hours of experience. So by the end of it, you're going to do 6,000 hours in the field, marked down in your book, practical, and you're going to do almost 1,000 hours in school. So if you have 7,000 hours, I would take that person all day long, because they've put the time in and the dedication to learn that trade, whichever trade it is.
Sure, yeah.
So
the main thing, just stick to the plan and stick to the schedule, because I know, unfortunately, lots of young guys skip the schedule, so they stay in the first year for 2-3 years, and then just it's difficult to.
Yeah, when I went through, it was a thing about being indentured of, you had to have a company sponsor you to go to school. And what they did was they made it a contract with yourself and the government. And they said, I promise that I will give this apprentice the experience in the field. This apprentice promises that they will go to school and pass their technical training. And that was a government contract and a contract between the three of us that you would follow for your apprenticeship. So now you can get students that they can self-indenture. So they say, oh, I want to become a plumber. They go to school so they can essentially sign themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
The only downside I see to that is you don't get the benefit of having the real world experience when you go to school, because that does play a factor when you go to school. But at the same token, I think at the end of the day, it's good to find an employer that will support you in your journey. Some employers will get you, if you're really good at one thing, they get you to only do that one thing, right? They pigeonhole you, which is great for that one thing. So for anybody that wants to get into the trade, do your research on the company that you want to work for. So make sure that that company will give you experience in all the different areas. That just helps you at the end.
Yeah, for sure. But it would be beneficial for both, for company and for you as well, if you would do your homework. Unfortunately, it happens all the time when you just accidentally, maybe your friend works for the company and you just join the company, or like
absolutely
the situation went that way, sure, so you just joined another one, but where you stick with one kind of rules and work, and you're good at one, and unfortunately you can break through. And
at the end of the day, if somebody becomes an apprentice and they want to do this, you have to have the dedication.
Yeah.
It's not an easy journey by any stretch, but the payoff at the end is big. So you also have to have a love for what you do. If you ever lose the passion, no matter what you do, it could be a garbage man, it could be a drywaller, a plumber, an architect, a lawyer, a doctor. If you lose the passion for what you do, you probably shouldn't do that anymore. So that goes with everything.
Yep.
So that would be my advice to any apprentice that wants to get into this. Make sure you keep your passion. You're going to have rough days and you're going to have great days. It's all part of it.
Yeah, just remind yourself why you're there, right?
Your end goal is you are looking for that ticket at the end. You're looking to maybe train the new apprentices to give back. Whatever it is that's your motivation to keep doing it, you need to keep that motivation. There's no job out there where you don't get the great jobs right out of the gate. That's another thing that I hear.
Yeah.
Is some people that are a first or a second year, and they're like, well, I don't want to move pipe from here to there. I don't want to clean out the storage container. We all had to do it. You have to put your time in. I would say most journeymen and employers look at that. If I go to someone who's a first year and I say, hey, go clean that storage container, make it organized. If they do it without complaining, then I know I gave them the worst job and they didn't complain, so now I can give them better jobs. But if somebody complains about doing that, there is no way that I can give them more responsibility
Yeah.
because they'll complain about that. So it's kind of a test to see, are you suited for this? Can you do this? But trust me on this, we all had to put our time in, so it's nothing personal, but it's to see if you can handle this job.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, as you mentioned, plumbing itself is not an easy trade. It's kind of complicated because it involves and includes all of the piping and plumbing system and gas lines as well. So when did you feel that you really know what you are doing? Because to get the journeyman ticket, it's one thing, but to realize and really know how the system works, the whole system,
Yeah.
it's a different thing. When did it happen?
So if I'm going to be totally honest with you, over 20 years, I still don't know everything. I don't. I learn new stuff all the time.
Because
when did I feel comfortable in the trade? Probably when I started my second year. I got through what I considered was the hardest year.
Second year.
Was my first year.
First year.
Learning all the brand new stuff. And that was a lot to take in. But once I made it past that, then I started learning newer things specific to what a plumber does. So you mentioned plumbing, gas systems. Not a lot of people know plumbers also install hydronic systems. So in-floor heating is a big one. That all falls under the plumbers. So we learn about all that. So it's a lot to take in. There's a reason that it's a dual-ticketed trade, right? So you have to put in almost twice the amount of work at school because you're going to get 2 tickets out of it. But it pays off. But I do not know everything. I'm an instructor at SAIT. I like to think I have a pretty good grasp on what I'm doing. I'm classified as a subject matter expert. Everybody with their ticket is an SME, a subject matter expert. But anybody that tells you that they know everything, they're wrong.
I thank you for honest, because it's probably true. New technologies, new material is coming all the time. It's probably impossible to keep up with all of that stuff. Right?
Absolutely. It is impossible. You always have to be able to learn. New technologies, like you said, come out. I have to be able to learn that new technology to be able to put it into practice. So especially if it's a brand new one. So that's why nobody knows everything. I just have the benefit of I understand the basics of it, so I can maybe learn it a bit quicker. But everybody gets to that point.
And from what you've seen, and you've seen a lot, what are the most major mistakes which apprentices are doing or usually do?
Okay. There's a few. Our younger generations now, like I'm turning 47 this year, so I'm of a bit older generation. We were very much taught work hard, play hard. The younger generations, like I have 2 kids that are teenagers. I've tried to instill in them that, but I also appreciate younger generations kind of lack that work ethic a little bit. So, on one hand, showing up to work.
At least.
Right? That does nobody a favor. Your employer now has to scramble to find someone, and it just makes for a big mess. So I would say reliability, showing up. I would say not being on their phones all the time.
It's a big one probably today.
So there's a lot of sites out there, residential and commercial, where they won't allow you to be on your phone during the day. If they see you on your phone, you're going to get disciplined because it's an active work site. So you're there to work. So I think the younger generation has a bit of a hard time with that because they are of the technology generation. And that's what they grew up with. Another one I would think would be if they're on a site and their journeyman, say, tells them to do something a certain way, and they think that their journeyman's maybe being unfair to them, so they don't do it that way. At the end of the day, that journeyman there to teach you. So I always tell my students, I've always told my apprentices, there's more than one way to achieve a result. So if I tell you to do something one way and you choose to do it another way, first thing, did we get to the same result? Because if we did, I'm okay with that. If you didn't meet the code and we didn't get to the same result, I will probably let you know that you should have listened to me. But not everybody's like that. But I was always put the shoe on the other foot kind of guy because I was given that when I was an apprentice. My first journeyman told me, if you come to the same result and you can explain to me that it's the same result and everything followed the rules with the code, I'm okay with it. So I was given that freedom. So I offer that freedom to all my students and my apprentices. But just keep in mind that not everybody's like that. So it's like any job. You're going to be told what to do sometimes. They're paying you. You should probably do it, you know. I would say that's the biggest one is the technology and the showing up.
Yeah. Thank you. It's really true because we probably all struggle with this kind of side of technology. Yeah, it just sucks in and you forget about where you are at the moment.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And let's go into the real estate and into the system. So based on your experience, what are the red flags? As soon as you come into the house, what should you check or look for, like at the very, very beginning?
Okay, so like I would say first and foremost, if you can, get a home inspector. Okay. There are certain rules. So I'm a licensed home inspector as well.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know. Yep.
You did not know that, right? So you do have to go through training to do that. When somebody goes to buy a house, you can't just go in and start turning on taps and turning on, because that's still someone's house. A home inspector can. That's their purpose, is to make sure everything works. So if I was going to go in and I couldn't get a home inspector, you're going to go visual, right? So one thing I would look for in regards to plumbing and heating, because that's what I can talk on, probably the first thing I'm going to look at is the ceilings. And I'm going to look to see if there's any water damage on the ceilings, any discolored spots, anything that's maybe a paint touch-up, right? That's going to raise a red flag with me, and I'm going to dig into that. Why is that one section of the ceiling a different color than the rest, right? 9 times out of 10, it's going to come down to it's probably your shower drain was dripping underneath.
So we came to another point, yeah.
Right? Or a toilet leaking. So you want to see what's up there, but you want to look for the visual clues. So if you go downstairs, you're going to want to look probably, say, around your furnace and your hot water tank. See if there's any water on the ground. See if there's anything coming out. Anything visual that does not look right. And then you can ask the question, right? With faucets, if you went into a mechanical room, this would be a good one. Look to see if there's shutoffs for your outdoor taps. Those are notorious for freezing in the winter, and a lot of older houses did not put them in the mechanical room. They hid them in the ceilings. And maybe that homeowner doesn't know that.
Maybe.
So it's just stuff to look out for, because if you don't catch it, it's just going to cost you money down the road to fix it. So yeah, I would say visual, but if your gut tells you something doesn't look right, ask the question.
Don't hesitate to ask.
Absolutely.
And if you don't mind, I will stick with the point that you as a home inspector mentioned, that it's really important that only you as an inspector can turn on the faucets and check all the appliances, right? Honestly, just maybe 2 weeks ago, I met with the real estate guy who helped us to buy the home, and he told me the story which was happening that day. So his client wanted to buy a house, but he didn't want to pay an inspector to go and check everything. He went by himself, and they turned on the washing machine, and it wasn't connected to the drainage system, and they flooded the floor inside the room, and it went down through the heater to the main floor. So they caused damage, hopefully, and like they ended up buying the house without any issues or complaints from the owner, but they could ended up with the fine and probably sued.
Yeah,
And that's a big one. So please, please, please follow the rules. And
100%.
these few $100 can save you a lot, and don't avoid it.
So one of the main reasons is every home inspector, and I can only speak for the province of Alberta, they have to carry certain insurances. They have to carry liability insurance. They have to carry errors and omissions insurance. So that's why when a home inspector goes in and they turn on a tap, if it leaks, I'm a company now. As a home inspector, I have to have a company. So my insurance will cover that. But if I'm a prospective buyer going in, I don't have insurance to cover that. So now you can go to your insurance company. If I was the homeowner and I went in and did that, I would go to my insurance company and say, well, I went to go buy this house and I turned on the washing machine. I didn't know it wasn't hooked up, and I've now flooded out their house. And my insurance company is probably going to look at me and go, what do you expect us to do? Your insurance covers your house, not somebody else's.
Someone else, yep.
Right? So that's why it's important to get a home inspector. Do your research on home inspectors before you get them. It goes to that age-old saying, cheapest is not always the best, and most expensive is not always the best. So do your research. Find the ones that have a good track record, are thorough, right? Essentially, they are going to see if there's any issues in this house before you buy it. And they will investigate them. So a good home inspector will point out the issues, and you will get them fixed before you buy that house. You'll make that a condition.
Or you will get a reduced price. Right?
Or a reduced price, so they work into it. Now you'll fix it, but they're going to knock their price down. That's why you get a home inspection. So if you can't get one, I would say don't bother looking at a house until you can get one. Now, comes to houses, condos, those are different. So a house is a standalone building. That is all encompassed in that. It's everything. It's a standalone residence. When you start getting into condos, that actual unit is your residence. But you usually go onto the balcony as a common property. Hallways are a common property. So you can only look at your unit, right? The rest of it's called base building, and that's on the builder or the condo board or the management company. That's what they take care of. So condos can be a little bit of a beast that way, but you'll look to make sure, do I have water shutoffs in my unit, this and that. So condos are nice that way because if it's outside of the scope of your residence, it's not your problem.
Yes and no, because
Yes and no.
Because condo fee reflects your
100%. So, most condos have a reserve fund and this and that. And if something goes wrong in a common area, guess what pays for it? Everybody pays for it. And they usually go off the size of your condo, right? So my wife and I had a condo when we first got together, and we had a corner unit. Well, it was the most square footage. So every time that we got a special assessment, ours was always bigger than the unit next to us because we took up more space. But that's why you have that fund for the new shingles, the new siding, the paint job in the hallway, the repairs on the mechanical system. But anything inside of your unit, just like a house, no different than people renting. If they rent, it's their landlord that has to fix it. But when you buy a house, you are the landlord now. So put the money aside to maybe fix that stuff. Going back to the other one too, another thing to look at would be visual with your furnace and your hot water tank. But ask the questions. How old is the hot water tank? How old is the furnace? So as a general rule, Calgary, we have hard water. But I always told my clients, and I tell my apprentices, everybody, if your water heater is over 10 years old, it does not owe you anything. It could last for another 10, but it doesn't owe you anything. It's done well.
It's done.
But after 10, you could expect to replace it at some point. A furnace, if it's installed properly, 30 years.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a good
Installed and maintained properly, 30 years, you should be able to get out of a furnace, right? Providing that something doesn't go wrong on the inside of it or whatnot, which you can never tell. Nobody has a crystal ball. But that's a good guideline. 30 years. After 30 years, if you replaced it, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah,
But
for
it might
sure.
last 50.
Never
right?
know. Yeah, as you mentioned, never know. Just use it and see how it goes, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, you went ahead and you've told about a few things which I wanted to discuss. Yeah, because in the house from the plumbing system, the most expensive ones is probably the water tank,
The water
uh,
tank, your furnace, air conditioner
air
if you have
conditioning.
one. Newer houses now are putting in very high-end fixtures, right? Another one for the plumbing, flooding. Water causes a lot of damage. So, but your biggest ones, yeah, would be your water tank and probably your furnace will be your biggest
Biggest.
expense. If it's an older mid-efficient one, because now everything's going to high efficient, you have to pay to get that transition done, right? Newer houses now, they're all high efficient. So that's how they're built. So it will be a little bit cheaper if you ever have to replace it. Yeah.
And speaking about the water tanks, so there are two main kinds of them, like tank and tankless. Can you explain a little bit what is the difference and how to differentiate them and what to pay attention to each kind
Yeah.
of them?
So with a hot water tank, so you're going to have a mid-efficient and a high
As you
efficient.
mentioned, yeah, sorry.
So high efficient would be just that, the tankless ones. They have usually the white plastic pipe coming off. And all that is it exhausts directly outside and it might pull the fresh air directly from outside. So it's a self-contained unit now. A mid-efficient is going to be the actual vessel type hot water tank that stands on the ground, and it's got a metal chimney coming off the top, and it usually ties into your stack that goes out the roof. So those ones, one good thing about mid-efficients, they still make them. They do not make mid-efficient furnaces anymore. They haven't for a number of years. So if you have a mid-efficient furnace and you need a new furnace, unless you happen to find one that's in good condition somewhere, you're going to go high efficient. And that was the government stepping in, trying to be more
Efficient,
proactive and efficient. The mid-efficient tanks are good in the sense they're cheaper than an on-demand, much cheaper. The downside, you're limited to a certain capacity of water. So it just goes on the system of feeding cold water to the bottom, heating it up. But if you have, say, 2 or 3 showers in a row, you've used up all that hot water. You have to wait now for that cold water to heat up. You can't get around that. So that's a disadvantage to those. Advantage to the on-demands, you could run hot water constantly and you don't run out of hot water. So that's one advantage to those. Disadvantage to those, they are much more expensive. And more expensive to maintain. Whereas a mid-efficient hot water tank, very easy to maintain. You know, you flush it once a year, you visually look at it, make sure there's no leaks. There's not many moving parts on it. You get into a high-efficient one, now you have control boards, pumps in them. It gets more expensive.
And probably you won't do by itself. You won't do the maintenance
I would
by itself.
suggest that you probably get a reputable plumbing company to service your on-demand, your high-efficient hot water tank. Because if somebody watches, say, a YouTube video and they're, I got this, you might. I'm not discounting that. But if something goes wrong, that can be a very expensive mistake.
But yeah, if you want to learn, or you really feel that you can do it,
Absolutely.
you can do
I
it, it's
encourage
okay.
people to try stuff, but I also tell people know your limits. If you feel it's out of your skill set, just don't do it. Right? Now then would not be the time to learn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learn on replacing a faucet, not
It's cheaper and easy, and yeah.
right? So there's certain limits to things. But that being said, there's a lot of good companies out there that they offer maintenance plans. The one thing with a high efficient hot water tank, they need to be maintained.
And
They need to be cleaned to make them still work good. If they don't get maintained over time, those things can fail pretty hard. So in my experience, that's what I've seen.
And we came to the point about the maintenance. So can you explain a little bit how to maintain properly so it lasts for a long time, and
Yeah. So
at least like the simplest steps which we
absolutely.
can
So
take?
with anything, if it's a complex job, get a company to put you on a maintenance plan. They will run through with you what you should do. But at the very least, if it's a hot water tank, be a mid or a high efficient, depending on the age, you're going to want to drain it once a year. Get that sediment out so it keeps it clean, right? Make sure that your venting is always cleared. One thing in the winter, in the high efficient ones, because it shoots out the exhaust, and if that exhaust is moist and it hits -30 air, it freezes, right? So then it will block it off. And at the end of the day, you don't want your exhaust blocked, right? We're getting rid of the carbon monoxide and whatnot. There's a reason that they call it the silent killer, right? So that's where anything to do with gas, I'm going to be straight up, get a qualified gas fitter plumber. It says it in the gas code. People can't work on natural gas unless they're in the trade, so an apprentice or a journey person.
It's dangerous. It's just
that is one reason that, especially like the city of Calgary, will not let a homeowner can pull any permit they want. They could pull an electrical permit, which is kind of scary sometimes. I don't like electrical. Personally, I like water, not.
You can see it. I mean, the water, you can see where it goes, and
electricity can be scary too, very much. So a homeowner could pull a plumbing permit. They could pull an electrical permit. They could pull a building permit. The one permit they cannot pull in the city of Calgary unless they're a licensed journeyman gas fitter is a gas permit.
We teach our kids don't play with the gas, but we forget ourselves to do the same.
There's things that people do sometimes that I believe people do it with the right intentions. However, especially with natural gas, it very much comes down to a life safety issue. I took the time to go to school to understand how it works, how to get rid of stuff to not kill people. I kind of usually leave it at that.
It's scary.
It's plumbing is, if you mess up and you create a bit of a flood, you'll learn from that, right? Natural gas, though, the byproducts of burning it can kill people. So you have to get a qualified person to do that. Do your research on who you get, right? Make sure that they're a reputable company, but absolutely, when it comes to anything with a natural gas hookup to it, you need to get someone qualified to service that appliance.
And you mentioned about the maintenance plan. Can you explain a little bit how it works? Because, for example, for me, I have never seen or experienced how it works. And
so most companies out there, once again, going back to doing your research, most companies say they come and install your high efficient furnace for you. Then they'll tell you, I'll tell you what, Alex, if you'd like, I'll put you on a plan where every 3 months we will come back, we will change your filter for you. That's one big one. We will do a combustion analysis on your unit to make sure it's not producing too much bad gas. We will make sure that it's venting properly and drawing fresh air in properly. If your vent or your air intake get plugged, call us. It's part of the cost. We will come out and unplug it, right? So they take the thoughts away from you. Most companies offer a preventative maintenance. You just need to find out how much and find out what they offer. But a good preventative maintenance plan will essentially, a preventative maintenance plan is meant to hopefully catch issues before they start. Nobody has a crystal ball. So if I go and look at a furnace and it's working and a week later something breaks, there's no way I would know that that's going to happen. However, on the preventative maintenance, if I'm doing my inspection and I see that something is starting to wear out, that's where I would let you as the homeowner know, by the way, doing my inspection, this one part is not 100%. Would you like me to replace it? That's preventative, right? And then you make the decision. Absolutely. So can you replace it, please, so we can make the appliance last longer?
And generally, you don't have to buy that particular furnace. If you, for example, if you buy a house and the appliance was installed before, you
Mhm.
can just buy the plan itself, right, from the company. And
Most companies will offer just a preventative maintenance plan. That's still business to them. Plus, you look at it from a company's point of view. If you've hired me for 10 years to do your preventative maintenance, well, when that appliance does decide to stop working, who are you going to call to put in the new one?
for sure, yeah.
We have a relationship now. You trust me. I trust you as a client. So it just makes sense that you're going to get me to install your new appliance, right? So it benefits everybody.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it takes the issue from your mind and keeps
Peace of mind is a huge thing,
appreciating. Yeah.
especially when you own a house, and especially if it's a new house that you've bought, be it an older house or a newer one. When you first move into it, everybody's excited when they move into a new place. It's, I got a new place. This is my place. And then usually they start to find out the little things about the place,
Which doesn't work properly.
right? And then you just kind of, okay, no problem. But once you get it to a point that you're happy with, then you know what's coming down the line.
And you've touched the basic steps about maintenance the furnace. Can we go through again? So changing the filter, yeah, as you mentioned,
Right.
checking.
So if you don't do a maintenance plan, now I just want to be clear, like anything I said that has natural gas. So if I was going to change, say, a motor in my furnace or the board in my furnace, that would involve me turning off the furnace, right? Certain things like changing the filter, absolutely the homeowner can do that. We encourage that. So the filter would be the big one. Your furnace needs good airflow to still work, and that's key. I can't tell you the amount of houses I've gone to, and that filter is plugged solid. So now it gets no airflow, then it burns out motors and stuff on the other side of the filter. So filters are key. Looking for any water spots, especially if it's a high efficient, because a lot of the condensation in the flue gases comes back and it drains out. So looking for any rust that might form. If you have an air conditioner, they'll put the coil above your furnace in the plenum, the metal vents. Look for any rust spots. If that's the case, the drain's probably plugged or you have an issue, right? So then you're going to want to call an air conditioning company or maybe a plumbing company that offers that service to look at it. So it's very much the visual, but the furnace is the filter, is the main one. A clean filter is a happy furnace. So if you have a plugged filter, the fresh air comes in from your house. So you go into your house and you see the big rectangular grates on the walls. Those are your fresh air returns. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking air from the house, goes down through the filter, heats up, and then it shoots hot air into your house and it recycles it, right? And if that filter's plugged, no air gets through. Well, now that motor's going constantly and it gets really hot and it needs that air to cool it off, and you need to shoot that air up. And if you don't, stuff starts to fail. And to put it into perspective, on a new furnace, it's not uncommon where if a motor fails on that, you're looking at a minimum $1,000 repair. Whereas if it's an older furnace, not nearly that much. The newer ones are nice because they're high efficient, but they're more expensive because of the technology that's put into them.
As you mentioned, everything has pros and cons, so you have to pay attention. And can we touch a little bit about, so there are concrete buildings and wood frame buildings. Are the same kind of piping or pipe lines used in both of them, or they're different? And what is the difference? And what is it better, or is it how you can assess? Or
not usually the same piping. 9 times out of 10, if it's a concrete building, so in a plumbing system in a residential, you're going to use ABS pipe, the black pipe, right? Works great. They've been using it since the 60s. What can I say about it? That goes into every residential house, and the whole industry as a whole knows that. Once I get into commercial, though, now I have to take into account fire separation. I'm going to use a plastic pipe, most likely, if it's, say, a condo that's called XFR. So it's a gray plastic pipe. It's just fire retardant. But last I checked, if something goes up in a big flame, it's still going to melt. So it buys you a bit more time. If you get into a commercial building, so a mini mall or something to that effect, it's probably going to be cast iron drainage. Cast iron was used in older homes. So it always evolves. But new construction, concrete and wood, it'll be probably cast iron or a metal pipe or copper piping for commercial, ABS, and probably PEX piping, the white plastic water lines for residential. One downside of a cast iron pipe is that it's got a rough inside. So, for instance, when you flush a toilet, the toilet paper might get caught on the ridges on the inside. So that's one downside. Whereas the plastic pipe, it's nice and smooth on the inside. So it's not as laminar, not as smooth for a cast iron pipe. Cast iron pipe, very fire resistant, right? It's one of the best ones.
Yep.
A downside to cast iron pipe, it's very brittle. So if you drop it, the chances of it breaking are very high, right? So has its ups and downs. Cast iron pipe is usually put together with mechanical joints. So it's rubber couplings with metal sleeves. That's how they connect the pipe. Whereas plastic pipe, we glue it together. So the glue, much more strong, creates a better seal, right? So has its ups and downs for both. I don't find anything wrong with cast iron, but yes, it does over time build up on the inside because it's a metal and it will build up rust and whatnot. And it makes the inside diameter of the pipe smaller. So I would say, going back to what you were saying about if you were looking at house stuff to look for, age of the house. So it's a pretty safe bet that if you buy a house that was built in probably, 1960 and prior, it will have cast iron drainage in the ground and coming up. So you will see a cast iron stack. That's not to say that old is bad. Sometimes some of the best stuff is 70 years old, right? One thing to look for in that would be any water stains on the outside of the pipe. Cast iron is also prone to cracking, and you can't really see the crack until you see a stain, then you see that it's cracked. They also used to attach copper to the cast iron drainage in the older houses. So one thing you want to look out for is there any stains on the copper? Is the copper dented? Is the copper a different color than what it should be? Does it have oxidization? Is it green? If it is, you're going to want to start putting that in your mind of how old is the house, stuff like that. Me personally, I prefer older houses over new ones.
I had a question and you just went ahead. So yeah.
Sorry, but yeah, I do.
It's okay. Yeah. So it's all connected. That's why. So yeah, does it matter? Does the time makes such a big difference for the from the plumbing perspective for the house? Was it built, for example, as you mentioned, in 50s, 60s, or it's better to buy it like after 2000 or newer?
Yeah. So me personally, the reason I like older houses, absolutely you run into the chance of opening Pandora's box. Older stuff could fail at any given time. The one thing I like about older houses was they took their time building them. So for instance, the plumbing, they used to run copper water lines. They used to run threaded galvanized water lines. Those weren't good, but if you got into the copper age, so the galvanized ones would be like 1900 to 1910, 15. I don't know if you're going to buy a house from then, right? But say you got a house from the 50s, it's probably going to have copper water lines. Well, these days, as a plumber will be given 3 days to rough in a house, so to put the drainage and the water lines in before the drywall goes up. Back in the 50s, they gave them 3 weeks to a month to do that because they had to solder everything. So you knew that the more time that went into it, the more care to attention went into it. There was no reason to miss stuff. So I like older houses that way. I like newer houses because The white plastic water lines, the PEX, way easier to install, easier to repair. If you get a repair, very easy to do. Whereas the older houses, you might have to get up into a tight spot to fix a copper line, and it's going to take you a while, and you're not really going to like life at that moment, right? So everything has its ups and downs, but the downside of an older house is, you might go to fix something and then something else breaks right away, and then you just start going down that road.
For sure. You have to make your mind on what do you want. But again, if you got the house with the great base foundation, you can change everything else and just work from there.
People will hear, probably going to hear in their lifetime the saying, that place has good bones. Good bones means that it is solid. So if that house was built in the 50s, the ground has already settled. That house has done its settling. That house has had those water lines and that drainage in for, at this point now, it would be 70 years, and it still works. So it has good bones. The downside is that house is not very efficient, right? You have windows that will let out air, warm air. You have doors that will let out warm air. You have a hot water tank and a furnace that costs you a lot of money to operate because it's an old appliance and they were not efficient.
So efficient, yeah.
So that's the downside of it. Whereas a new house keeps all the warm air in, doesn't cost as much money to operate those appliances because they're high efficient. So everything has a give and take, right?
Yeah, and step by step we came to a point. What do you see now in the market itself, or how the plumbing changes with the time, or how it has changed, and what the dynamic in the market, in the plumbing, from this perspective?
I would say now, probably the biggest thing is the time limits for trades now, all trades. So because there's such a huge demand, because our cities are growing and they're growing at a very, very big pace, they need to build more houses and they need to build them quicker. So one downside of that is the quicker people go, the more stuff they can miss. And you can't expect an inspector to catch everything. It's not possible, right? Because there's more houses, they have to go inspect more houses, right? So they're going to go in, they're going to look, and they're going to go, well, everything looks good. But it's on the tradesperson if they miss connecting a water line or if they miss gluing a drainage line, right? But because, say, the builder says, I'm going to give you 3 days and then you're at the next house, well, now you have to get it done in that time. So I would say the pace and complacency. People that have done it, like myself, I've been guilty once or twice in my life where I've done this 100 times, and that's when I make a mistake because I don't pay attention to it like I did it the first time. I've done this so many times, I got this, and that's when the mistake happens.
So we can say that these are probably two main reasons where the quality gets lost,
Big
right?
time.
Big time, yeah.
And it's not the tradesperson's fault. It's not the builder's fault. It's not the contractor's fault. It's not the tradesperson's fault. It's just the way it is. Because it goes so quick now, you don't have the luxury of all that time to build that house now because they give you this time frame because next thing you know, the electricians are coming in, the HVAC's coming in, the roofers are coming in, the drywallers are coming in. If you hold that up, you're not going to have a job there much longer because you're holding up the big machine, right? So you're either going to learn as a tradesperson real quick to do your job and do it well, quickly, or you're going to take a little bit of extra time. So me personally, before I started at SAIT, I had my own company and I did a lot of contracting to a lot of plumbing companies for new construction. So there would be journeymen and apprentices at some of these plumbing companies. 2 days, they would be in and out of a house. And there's nothing wrong with that because everything worked, fast, right? Yeah, it's fast. Me personally, I would tell them, you need to give me 3 days. And in the beginning, they would say, well, we're going to be behind schedule. And I said, but I promise you, I will not have any inspections fail.
That's a big deal.
And I will take my time. And if there is something wrong, I come back on my dime and fix it. And that worked for me. So they gave me that. They could just tell the builder, okay, yeah, we need 3 days. But I never had an inspection fail. That was one thing I prided myself on. So I didn't have to go back and fix anything. Am I human? Yes. Did I miss stuff sometimes, right at the very end usually? Yes. But that's why you do it before all the drywall goes up. So if something's wrong, it's easy to fix it.
You can check it. You can test it.
Right? But the ones that are go, say something fails, and then the company says, we'll send somebody back tomorrow to fix it. You go to the new house. Well, the person never comes back to fix it. That doesn't get caught by the inspector, right? That's on the contractor or the company to fix that. So it's just the quick goes. It's the one thing I don't like about now. I'm glad I'm not doing houses now because it's just too quick, and you see stuff just put together too quick.
Yeah, I think there are like two teams now: the people who likes that, again, the people who complains that there are not enough houses yet for all of us, and still the people who complains about the quality because the houses are been building so fast that the quality gets lost and you can't expect. So we can basically we can summarize that nowadays, if you buy a new house, you shouldn't expect, or not shouldn't, but you should expect that something can go wrong or might go wrong. Or
So I would say if you're going to buy a new house, don't go into it thinking something's going to be wrong right away. Go into it thinking that it got put up, that house start to finish, 9 months. Okay. Go into it thinking that the people that did the work in it are licensed, qualified, and they know what they're doing. Always give the benefit of the doubt, right? You have to know, and that's why I'm not saying that all new construction is horrible. Quite the opposite. It's the odd one that has issues. I would say 95% are really good, right? It's because people get tuned in. This is the time frame that I have, so I will do my job and I will do it well. Most tradespeople think, that's not my house I'm working on, but I used to work on every house like it was my house.
That's probably the best attitude.
Most tradespeople do that. Most. And if most tradespeople do that, you're gold. Because I don't want leaks in my house. So I install it like it's my house. And then you look at, there's a family that's going to move in here, and the last thing they want is these little surprises.
For sure.
Does stuff fail? 100%. Anything manufactured can fail. But if it's put in properly, you're good. And builders also do their quality checks at the end and during the process. So it's not just inspectors from the city, it's also the builders will go in and make sure that everything's good. So that's a benefit to any home buyer out there, is that there are multiple checks through all of the stages. So that's reassurance that
and
it's
can
good.
we still say that the final result will still be dependent on the builder? Because, as you mentioned, most of the professionals who work inside the buildings, they want and they can deliver the good results. But again, it depends on the system or the process, how it's organized. Are they pushed? Are they rushed? So if you go and do your homework and find the builder with the good reviews and testimonials, you will get the good result.
You nailed it. I get people like I say, my wife and I, we've had a condo, we're in a house, like we've gone through the buying process. And I think one thing people get caught up in is they get so excited to buy. And nowadays, from a builder, they see, I can get this and this and this and this, and it's, I live in a mansion, like I'm living pretty good, right? The one thing I will suggest to anybody out there that's going to buy a house, you nailed it. Do your research on the builder. Make sure they're a reputable builder. Make sure that they have a good reputation. They do quality work. Most builders that do stand behind their work. If you get a builder that has not such a good reputation, I hate to say it, that's on you if you go with them. You have every right to do your research, since this is going to be possibly your forever home. Do your research. Make sure you're moving into something that was constructed properly.
Thanks.
Because a lot of people get excited, so they kind of skip that part. Oh, I want to be in this part of town. Oh, guaranteed, most parts of town, there's at least 3 builders building. At least. So you have options, right?
Yeah, so keep your emotions somewhere behind, because
Yes.
somebody can be in a rush. So I want to buy a house. I want to buy a house,
Yes.
and just miss all the main points. And
Be excited when you move in,
for sure,
right?
you will.
But you nailed it. Keep your emotions on the back bench. Go into it logical. Is this constructed properly? Is this a reputable builder? Does this builder use reputable contractors? Does this builder meet their timelines? What warranty does the builder have? That's a massive one.
I know we went through, we covered a few points, but you mentioned you still get some service calls.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name what is the most common, and which one you get most often?
Okay.
Maybe.
If
there are several, you can name
I
several.
would have a few. So winter. If it's winter, it's we in the trade call it a no heat. I get someone calling me, my furnace is not working. 9 times out of 10, it's a plugged filter.
Again,
or the exhaust outside is blocked, or the intake is blocked off, so it can't get that fresh air and get the exhaust out. 9 times out of 10. So the no heats, and those ones are pretty important, because you can't leave somebody or their family and them with no heat when it's minus 30 outside, right? So that would be the most common one in the winter, is the no heats. I would say plumbing wise, when I was doing drain cleaning, clogged drains, and 9 times out of 10, I don't like how they say for baby wipes, for anybody with babies out there. 2 things that you should not ever flush down your toilet: paper towels and baby wipes.
It clogs.
It clogs.
Immediately, yeah.
That's why toilet paper and that. So a lot of places put on there no paper towels. They are so thick that they just jam up. The baby wipes say that they're flushable and whatnot. To a point. Right?
Now we know they don't. They are not.
They don't. Another one that I got a lot was plug drains on a kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, it was a kitchen sink with a garburator.
I have the same issue all the time.
I am a firm advocate. I do not like carburetors. In my opinion, you don't stick solids down lines, right? Like it chews it up and shoots it out. Use a compost bin. But that's a major selling feature these days. Non-drain cleaning wise, a lot of faucet replacements. I encourage any homeowner out there, faucet replacement would be something that it's probably good to have in your skill set. Mm-hmm. I don't think you necessarily have to call a plumber. Maybe the only time you would is if you don't have shutoffs underneath your sink.
I just wanted to say that, yeah.
Right? If you're not comfortable doing that, call someone. But if you have a way to isolate that water, tackle it, right? So I always tell people, if it's replacing a fixture, do it as a homeowner. If it involves a renovation where you are now changing the layout of your plumbing system, I suggest you call a plumber.
And you will have to pull the permit for if you change the layout.
Yes.
But you don't have if you change the toilet itself?
If you change a toilet or a fixture, you don't need to pull a permit. If you do an addition or a renovation, you should pull a permit, because now you're changing the design system of the plumbing of your house, right? If you add more fixtures, it has to be the pipe has to be sized properly in the ground. That's where a plumber's knowledge comes in. We know how to do that. Ask any inspector out there. If it's above your scope, just get a company to pull the permit and do it. Plus, you get the warranty from that company, right?
Yep.
And that inspection is a peace of mind to you that it was put in to meet code. It meets the life safety guidelines, right? Does not overload your house. It's put in properly.
And on my opinion, it may be even more crucial if you're living in a condo. If you flood someone downstairs, it's going to be an issue.
So, to my knowledge, if you live in a condo or an apartment building, you cannot do any work in there. I know plumbers. I used to work in condos when I had my company, but I had to carry an extra high amount of insurance just for that.
Just to come in and
There
see.
are certain rules with condos that I highly suggest. If you're switching out a faucet, go ahead. If you're switching out a toilet, go ahead. If you are doing a renovation in your unit, I highly suggest that you call a plumbing company that has the right insurance and the right certifications to work in that condo, because condos have their own rules for that reason.
Yep.
If something goes wrong, and usually they have to tie in a building shutdown if you don't have shutoffs in your unit, well, now I'm involving the maintenance staff for that building. I have to kill all the water for you to do something. That's an inconvenience to everybody, right? So that's why there's rules. And heaven forbid you flood another unit, you better have
Yes.
insurance.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
So condos especially have a different set of rules altogether. So do your research on the companies that can work in condos, because not every plumbing company out there can. It's a lot of companies, they have to have that insurance and stuff.
Yeah. And can we summarize? So what steps or what things can save you money as a buyer, for example? Like few things we can name. And if you see it and avoid it,
Mhm.
it will save you money.
So with plumbing,
With plumbing.
okay.
Yes.
So like if I was going to go look at a
Yep.
house, okay. So if I went to a house, say mid 1960s and prior,
Mhm.
right? Like we mentioned, look at the drainage, look at the fixtures, right? See if the furnace and the hot water tank have been upgraded. Another big one, look at the bathrooms. See if they are their original fixtures from the 60s. So if it is, you're probably going to be doing a bathroom reno at some point, because those fixtures are 60 years old, right? The big one, look for water spots in the ceiling.
Mhm.
That's usually the big one, that something happened and people try to hide it.
As you mentioned, like paint touches.
Paint touch-ups, if they didn't touch it up, because I'll be honest, people can very rarely match it perfectly. You know, if anybody talks to a painter out there, or if you've done a home reno, they will not just paint one little section. They will paint your entire ceiling, right? And that's why it costs so much to get that done. So what you can do as a homeowner, I forgot to mention, while you can't turn on any fixtures,
Mhm.
you are more than welcome to open the cupboards underneath sinks.
Mhm.
So you can open up the cupboards and look underneath. And if you see any water stains, ask the question, what went on here? By all means, look underneath the cupboards. You can't look in people's drawers and invade their privacy that way, but it's a bathroom. Yeah. And your hot water tank, look for water on the floor. Another big one, if you're buying a house, find out where the drainage is, if it goes to the alley or the front street. Okay. So if you're going to buy a house, and older ones are really bad for this, look for big trees in the front yard. If there are big trees, there's a very real chance you're going to get tree roots in your drainage, which will cause a backup. So if you see a big tree, or you see a big tree stump that it was cut down, ask them if they ever had a backup in their drainage. It's notorious for that. So that would be my tip for everybody.
Keep in mind that you probably at some point will have to deal with them.
Absolutely. If you go to look at a house and it's inner city or whatnot, and there is a big tree in the front yard, I will almost guarantee you that they have had a plug drain at some point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Pat, and about the professional path, what would you suggest for those people, for those young or not young people who have decided or want to choose from the trades about your trade? Any piece of advice for people who are coming in this trade, or just thinking of what kind of trades to choose from? And
okay, so if you want to get into plumbing, what I would suggest is, I'll be completely honest with you, there's a lot of companies out there right now that won't hire people with zero experience. So it makes it hard for someone to get experience, right? So personally, if you want to get into this trade, I would say, I don't just mention SAIT because I work there, but SAIT is a world recognized institution. If you graduate from SAIT, there's a very real chance you will find a job. SAIT has a very high standard that way. It's kind of like Yale or Harvard, right? So in the trade school, and SAIT has other schools as well, they have a good reputation. So if you live in the Calgary or Southern Alberta area, SAIT is probably going to be your go-to. Do the pre-employment. Go to pre-employment. That gives you a bit of knowledge, right? Gives you a leg up so you can go write your government test and become second year. Second one would be do your research on an employer. Don't just take the first thing that comes along. Make sure you have an employer that will support you, right? And if that means that your buddy works there, awesome, you have an in,
Yep.
right? But just make sure that your employer is there for your benefit as well. When you go to school, don't fall into the trap of treating it like a vacation. The amount of students I see do that, it's not a vacation. It's you get paid to go to school by the government or your employer, one or the other. So it's a job. So when you go to school, you are going to learn a lot in 8 weeks. By the time the 8 weeks is done, you will know more than the first week. So I suggest keep up on your schoolwork, show up, give it your all, right? Get that raise. That's your goal. Come back for the next year. I can speak for me personally. If I get you for plumbing, I think I did it with your class, you get a magic trick from me once a week, right? That's what I like to do with my classes. So that's
nice.
my thing. I like doing that with my classes, gets them engaged. We have fun. So it doesn't always have to be all business. Like we like to have a lot of fun there too. But I tell my students, I'm not here to produce quantity of tradespeople. I produce quality.
By the end, you have to pass the exam, so you still have to keep it in mind. It can be fun, but the work has to be done.
You wrote one of the exams. They're not easy.
Yeah.
But if you put the effort in, you'll pass it. If you want to get into any other trade, I do know in the winter and in the fall, SAIT holds open houses. Come down to the open house. We have every trade, every architectural design, you name it, IT, SAIT has School of Hospitality, construction, automation. Like we have a lot of different schools. I think we have 7 different schools there. Come to the open house. See what you'd like to do, right? We're always there. You can talk to us, right? So you have to join plumbing. Maybe you want to become an electrician.
But be curious, be engaged, yeah, right?
Go find out which one, and that's the best way is you go to the open house and you look at all the different booths set up and you go, wow, I was going to do plumbing but I actually want to become a welder now. Perfect. You never would have known if you didn't go, right?
And I would like to advocate like one more thing about plumbing, like the benefit comparing with for example, my trade, because I'm in fire sprinkler trade. There's so much work out there which you can do because every single house, every single condo has plumbing system inside, lots of fixtures, lots of piping. And if you want, you can get your license and go on your own. And you will find the business, you will find the work because everyone needs you. Everyone needs you. Time flies, building gets older, system gets older. Because in our trade, we can't get so much work by yourself because you have to have a company. You have to go because you usually work with the other companies, with the businesses, not with the end customer. That's why, on my perspective, on my point of view, it's easier to find a work, to find a way to make money and really good money in plumbing instead of, for example, fire sprinkler. Just one
sprinklers are, well, so when it comes to plumbing, like you say, it's everyday stuff. Electrical, everyday stuff. Sprinklers are very unique in the sense they are a life safety device, right? So you are there to essentially save someone's life if something goes wrong, right? That's what a sprinkler fitter does. So you have to be trained in order to install that system. In case something goes wrong, you save people's lives, right? So I always felt for you when you were in my class because we see the sprinkler fitters for the first year and then you go to Red Deer. We don't see you again. We don't hold a second year at SAIT for that.
Unfortunately, maybe one day it will.
We might. Red Deer does, and Red Deer's a very, very competent college, by the way. So Yeah, sprinkler fitters, you're going to be more commercial, high rises, stuff like
Yep.
that. But it's a very, very important job.
It is, but just in case if you want to choose something, and it's with the sprinklers, fire sprinklers, it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So if you want to run the company, just it requires more efforts, more probably money as well.
Yeah.
And with the plumber, being a plumber, a little bit, it's more complicated with education, because I think you have much more to learn than we do.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but you can find the way to make money faster.
Yeah, so I can speak
And
for
build
me.
your
When I had
clients.
my
Yeah.
company, I never advertised. All of my business came word of mouth. So if anybody out there wants to get into the trades and you get your ticket and you want to start your own company, that's the one piece of advice I will give you. Your quality of work is what you will be remembered for. And if you do a good quality of work, you will be busy the rest of your life.
Do your work, yeah.
If you cut corners and stuff, you might have a hard time finding a job. And that's the other thing with having your own business. You work for a company, you get your paycheck every 2 weeks, this and that. It's a guarantee, right? When you have your own company, it's not a guarantee. You have to find the work. You have to do it. So hardest part when you're starting your own company is getting the client base. But after that, if you do good work, it speaks for itself. You will not have to look for work.
One big thing, this license stay with you forever, right?
Yes,
For a
your
lifetime.
ticket is yours for life. Your gas fitter and plumber are both Red Seal trades as well. So when I went through, gas fitter was not a Red Seal trade. Red Seal is just you are recognized as a journey person in another province. So it's an interprovincial standard of excellence, they call it. So when you get to your 4th year, you're going to write your government test, but you're also going to write a Red Seal test. So your 4th year, last week, pretty hectic, right? But you're at the end line then. So I got my Red Seal in my plumbing, so I'm recognized as a journeyman all across Canada. Don't have it in my gas because it was not offered. Now it is. So if you pass your Red Seal for both, you're recognized as a journeyman. The main thing is you get your ticket first. So if you get your Red Seal, that has its own number attached to it. That's yours for life. If you get your journeyman ticket, that has a number attached to it. That's yours for life. It would have to be pretty extreme for you to lose your ticket, as in you kill someone. Right? If it's extreme enough, you can lose your ticket, but that ticket allows you to pull permits, it shows people that you are a subject matter expert in that trade, right? And it gives people confidence that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and as soon as you get your Red Seal, throughout the country you can work.
Red Seal, it's like me personally, I'm married, I have kids, and my wife's family's here. If I had never met my wife and I got my Red Seal, I probably would have moved back east to the Maritimes where my family's located. But be proud of the ticket you get. Like I said, it's a lot of time you put in to get that ticket. So wear it as a badge of honor, so to speak.
Yeah, guys, it's all on you. Yeah, how you decide and what you decide. And I really want to thank you, Patrick, for your time.
Thank you
for sharing all your knowledge and expertise with me, because it's interesting for me, first of all, for you guys. I hope you will enjoy and benefit from that. And I really hope that all this information will help you to make better decisions more wisely. And keep watching. We will do more cool stuff. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.